So we begin by offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nityalita Bhavishta, Om Vishnu Padasto Tarasat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, and Sri Guru Pada Padma Nityalita Bhavishta, Om Vishnu Padasto Tarasat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, under our exalted Upanuga Varga and all the assembled Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis. I don't know what happened. We had to go from one place to the other. Sometimes things, mess up. So, now I've got all these weird things on my screen here. Okay. Whoops. Get rid of that. Okay. So today, we are starting the Ananda Vrindavana Campu, chapter 12, stealing the garments of the gopis. This is a long narration with a lot of detail. And we've heard a lot of the background, philosophical background, from our other readings, Gopal Campu and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur speaking on Bhagavatam, and Srila Prabhupada introducing it in a very simplified way for his audience. Remember, when Srila Prabhupada did his books, he said that Krishna was dictating directly. This is like Baladev Vidyabhushan, right? And the Govinda Bhashya of the Vedanta Sutra. Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book was like that. Very careful, very splendid and beautiful. But within it, everything is there. But we have an opportunity now to go into more detail, and this is the most detailed, without a doubt. So I'm going to try not to comment as much. If I do comment, it's more or less going to be just to emphasize what was said so that we can reflect on it a bit as we're listening. Because this narration will give us ability to, the whole point of hearing these pastimes is to have the opportunity when we're chanting and hearing, when we're chanting and remembering, this is how we remember. If we try to artificially create pastimes in our mind, according to our own imagination, then there's no benefit there. In fact, there can be harm. Because the mind is a material thing, and if we meditate on the intimate lila between Krishna and his gopis only from our own imagination, it's a material creation, and it will have the reverse effect. It won't produce any transcendental effect. It won't purify our anarthas. In fact, it can increase lust. So our acharyas have very carefully crafted these narrations that heard respectfully, accurately, appropriately, they have the effect of, Rikuridam Vrajavadu Idam Cha Vishnu Shranadvita Anu Shunayad, right? We hear following, right, in Anugatya with great faith from qualified sources. And then praying becomes established in the heart, and all other contamination, lust, greed, anger, all of that in its most subtle form and gross form completely vanishes, right? So, Ananda Vrindavana Campu. So, one day, this is by Kavi Kanapur, who was empowered specifically by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he was a little boy, he wasn't speaking. Even Srup Damodar Goswami couldn't get him to speak or chant. Mahaprabhu himself was trying to get him to chant. He wouldn't chant. Srup Damodar said he's chanting inside his mind and his heart. Then Mahaprabhu gave him his big toe to suck, and this little 5-year-old boy, uneducated at that point, began to speak melodious, eloquent Sanskrit verses in praise of the Lord. So, one day, due to their sadhana, the intense hope of Danya Saki and the other attractive Brajakumaris to attain Krishna as their husband blossomed like a flower on the desire tree of their hearts. Somehow or other, from that very day, the parents thought that their daughters would be happy by getting good husbands. So rather than being disturbed, they happily helped their daughters observe the necessary vows to fulfill their natural desire. So they've taken birth in Braj, all the accumulation of all of their practices, all their sadhana, and so many lifetimes has reached fruition, and by the desire of the Lord, by his Leela Shakti, the appropriate time has come, and so now, inspired in the hearts of not just the Braja Kumaris, but also their parents, yes, you should do this vow. With great affection, the mothers warn their daughters, your young bodies are as delicate as flowering creepers. Therefore, you cannot endure painful austerities. How will you be able to suppress the bliss you are feeling within and suddenly show the determination needed to perform such difficult activities? Since you will not be able to do it, you should not attempt to undergo the vow of worship. We have never seen you do such things before, so this is a natural affection of the mothers, right? They want their daughters to do this. They want them to have good husbands. They want secretly that Krishna be their husband. But of course they're concerned. These are very delicate, beautiful young girls. But such discouraging words merely increased the gopis' determination. The mothers inquired from their daughters, "O young girls, who is the Devata whom you are worshipping? Is it Uma, Umapati, Madhav, Kamala, or Brahma? What type of puja are you doing? Is wealth required? Who is the acharya directing the chanting of the Vedic mantras? Think about this carefully and tell us." Okay, so, they want to be involved. It's natural for parents, right? Are you worshiping Lord Shiva? Are you worshiping his wife? Are you worshiping Madhav, a goddess of fortune? Kamala, are you worshiping Brahma? To stop any further discussion of the subject, which might reveal their hidden intentions to attain Krishna, the unmarried gopis thought about their mother's words and answered modestly, "If any living entity puts his determined faith in any devata, then that devata will surely fulfill his desires. Therefore, we will satisfy our desires by increasing our worship of Goddess Katyayani. We have employed our minds to serve as the best of acharyas. His orders will determine our future and bring us to our goal. While waking or sleeping, our mental acharya is chanting a mantra to help us fulfill our goal." So they're fixed. Their minds are one-pointed and directed towards their goal. They can't reveal it. They're shy. This is natural. We've heard this many times, how their attraction to Krishna is always kept hidden. Even from among themselves, they most often don't talk about it directly, except in extreme circumstances. Many times it's indirect, right? They'll praise Balaram or some other situation. So the expression of love may come there, but it becomes indirect. Being discouraged by their mother's words from performing the Katyayani Vrat, the gopis felt temporarily despondent. Nevertheless, when the first day of the Hemant season arrived, waves of blissful ras agitated the ocean of their hearts. Okay, you ever get discouraged in your own practices, or people try to, divert you? This is natural. In Vrindavana here, these are just transformations of prema. Even the so-called discouragement is a means to make them even more fixed. But we can take a message from this that, there may appear to be some obstacle, but become enthusiastic, become determined, and realize that when service is presented to us, if there are great obstacles ahead of us, this is a blessing. Krishna is giving us a chance to show our determination, show our dedication, and if we do that, he will reveal so many beautiful things to us. He will empower us in so many ways. So if obstacles come, it's Krishna's mercy. And in our own way, in the reflected way, through sadhana, remember sadhana and sadhya are the same, we get to try to experience a enthusiasm born out of determination, right? I won't be thwarted. These obstacles are there, but this is Krishna's desire. It's the desire of Mahaprabhu. This is the desire of my guru. Somehow or other I have to keep trying. Let them determine what the result will be. But I must try, right? And in that, there's satisfaction and happiness. So, nevertheless, when the first days of the Hemant season arrived, waves of blissful ras agitated the ocean of their hearts. With great enthusiasm, they collected Havishan and the other articles to execute Katyayani Vrat. Remember Havishan? Unspiced khichdi. Right? The bodies of the gopis revealed a distinct type of beauty while undergoing the hardship of the Vrat. Since they no longer chewed tambul, the natural luster of their lips glowed prominently. Though their skin turned somewhat pale and hardened without their daily oil massages, their bodies glistened like fresh ashok leaves washed by the rain. Since they no longer applied oil to their hair, it became dull and dry like the minds of the destitute. From eating once a day, their bodies became very thin and lost their natural effulgences. Though they still wore gems and jeweled necklaces, their bodies looked as lackluster as the second phase of the dark moon. Seeing the intensity of their penance and their emaciated condition, all the Brajbasis were astonished and felt pity for them. So, on the one hand, it says a distinct type of beauty. On the one hand, it appears that some of their natural beauty was diminished, but another kind of beauty emerged. We often hear about Krishna. When he is decorated and dressed and ornamented, he becomes more beautiful. Right? But if the ornaments are removed and his clothing is removed, he looks even more beautiful. When he's covered with dust at the end of the day, the gray dust of Vrindavan, bringing the cows back, it colors his hair, his face, everything. That coating gives him a very particular kind of beauty. So the gopis, some of their beauty that you would normally associate with them was not there. It was changed, but their determination, their prem, their love marked them with a special kind of beauty, right? And so in this case, like the natural luster of their lips glowed prominently. Their inner beauty, their inner prem was showing. And that's the most beautiful thing. When Krishna sees the gopis burning with prem, he becomes so beautiful and happy. And when they see Krishna happy, they become even more beautiful. So this is what's happening. Their vow, their vrat, is giving Krishna greater and greater joy day by day, right? And ultimately, he can't stay away, and he's going to go to them. So the burning desire to attain Krishna within the minds of the gopis interrupted their sleep and forced them to wake up in the middle of the night. Although insufficient sleep reddened their eyes, they washed their faces, discarded their white sleeping dresses, and put on auspicious pink clothes, the color of their anurag, right? While throwing off the lethargy of sleep, they joyfully considered, following these scriptural injunctions, let us take an early morning bath in the Jamuna. Every morning the gopis would meet according to the secret agreements they had made the night before. Welcoming each other with respectful words, they embraced and exchanged great love. With their impeccable qualities and graceful lotus stem-like arms, and their lotus stem-like arms, the gopis looked like an attractive cluster of lotuses walking down the path. Although they felt shy and hesitant to approach Krishna, alone they felt shy and hesitant to approach Krishna, but as a group, they shone with the pride and power of a dazzling cascade of light. Right, sometimes singular, you might not have so much courage, but in a group, you become very courageous, right? So now they're supporting each other. That's also our situation. Alone, our bhakti can become frail and weak, right? But in association with like-minded and affectionate persons, the pride and power of being a devotee, of being in the mission of Mahaprabhu, as being a disciple of my guru, it comes shining forth, right? And they shone with the pride and power of a dazzling cascade of light. Like a Harinam party coming down a major street in a big city, right? Big Harinam, drums pounding, cartels ringing, voices raised loudly and ecstatically. So powerful, right? All eyes and ears drawn to that sight, right? Spreading their radiant effulgences in all directions, the gopis appeared like a garland of lightning bolts moving on the earth. Every day before sunrise, these lovely young ladies went to the Jamuna while singing loudly about the qualities of Hari, who is forever praised by heavenly demigods like Brahma. Full of rhythm and precise intonations, their voices blended harmoniously with the soft, sweet notes of their venas. A sweet smell emanated from their mouths as the gopis engaged in kirtan. Captivated by that fragrance, swarms of bees flew excitedly toward their lotus faces, hoping to drink the nectar. When the gopis blinked their eyes in fear of the buzzing bees, the beauty of their faces greatly increased. Okay, I have to check something. Yes, okay. So look, can imagine that. Is this in your mind's eye now? This group of beautiful young girls singing. How are they singing? Full of rhythm and precise intonations. The art of singing, it's very precise. Remember in the Chamatkara Chandrika when Krishna comes disguised as the singer, right? This beautiful girl from Mathura who is instructed by Brihaspati, and she's asked by Radhika to sing, and Krishna says, "How shall I sing? And with what rag, with what meter?" And then all these, Radhika gives these very detailed instruction, and Krishna says, "Oh, nobody knows the art of singing, the technicalities of singing like you. I only know some simple melodies." And he sung those. But the art of music in Vedic culture is very, very elaborate. And actually, even in authentic kirtan, it's very precise. Ultimately, kirtan is a matter of the heart. But our acharyas have given us meter and melodies and all the technical elements of singing that if done in that way, properly, according to the time of the day and everything else, it enhances the kirtan, right? And they were all harmonious, blending together the soft, sweet notes of their venas also playing. And what a sweet smell emanated from their mouths as the gopis engaged in kirtan, because in their kirtan, Krishna is there in his holy name, purely enunciated. He's dancing on their tongues, and the fragrance of his form is there in that sound vibration. And it's coming out of their mouths as they're singing. Can you imagine? And it was so captivating and powerful that bees were attracted to that and swirling around these beautiful little Brajadevi's faces. The chiming sounds of their bangles conquered the chirping of love-maddened sparrows. Just as the hot sunshine does not wilt the lotus flowers, the faces of the gopis remained fresh and attractive, even though they constantly burned with the desire to meet Krishna. The maidservants of the gopis followed behind them, carrying the finest ingredients for Devi Puja, which they had collected according to strict rules. So there are also maidservants there, manjaris, assisting these gopis, different uteshwaris, and then the followers in each of these little groups, and then the maidservant manjaris who are assisting them. Thus the Brajakumaris, brimming with affection, ignored the restrictions imposed by their elders and proceeded to the bank of the Jamuna. So this is the mood of Parakya actually even coming into this point. They don't have husbands, but they're overcoming apparent objections of their parents, right? It's, in one sense, it's right, illicit. Parakya from the ordinary moral position is illicit, but from the spiritual position, it is the most exalted. So the fact that they have this obstacle and they are neglecting the moral order of their parents enhances their prema, enhances their mood and their excitement to meet Krishna. So, although Jamuna Devi is the daughter of the sun, who removes all darkness and afflictions, she herself is filled with streams of darkness. With the eyes of her swirling waves, Yamuna Devi could directly perceive the faith of the young women who desired Nanda Sutta as their husband. So now Jamuna is going to talk to them. We've heard Vrinda talking, Katyayani talking. Now we're going to hear Jamuna. So all these different perspectives of who's guiding and encouraging these young girls. Seeing the agitation caused by their blossoming prema, Jamuna Devi wanted to embrace the gopis with the playful hands of her waves. Jamuna respectfully said, "O Sakis, come, come." Then she made a jat-jat sound with her waves in response to the delicate jat-jat sound of the gopis' ankle bells as they quickly ran down the forest path. Understanding the desires of the young girls, Jamuna Devi offered her respects and tenderly looked at the gopis from the corner of her lotus flower eyes. The rays of the rising sun instigated pleasure pastimes among the pairs of reunited chakravak birds who had been separated the night before. Water birds chirped gaily while flying overhead. Upon arriving at the Jamuna, the impatient Brajakumaris immediately threw off their woolen shawls. Covered by thin white cotton bathing outfits, the blissful bodies of the gopis looked more beautiful than a stream of falling snow. Whoa! Covered by white cotton bathing outfits, the blissful bodies of the gopis looked more beautiful than a stream of falling snow. How poetic. The gopis shivered and softly sighed due to the chilly morning air. The quivering of their leaf bud-like lips revealed the splendor of their pearly white teeth. So all these environmental conditions arranged by Vrinda Devi and Purnamasi just cause to excite the love in the hearts of the gopis, and their beauty becomes manifest in so many diverse ways. The gopis smiled gently and giggled upon noticing their friends feeling the same way. And even though they're not directly with Krishna, is Krishna not aware of this? In the Prem Samput, Srimati Radhika describes her constant connection with Krishna in her heart and his constant connection with her. How he's completely aware of all that is going through her heart, and she's aware of what's going through his heart. So Krishna is aware of this. He can see all of this, all of their beauty. And reacting to the biting cold, the gopis made a comic sense by slapping their arms and crossing their legs in various contorted postures. You can imagine that. They're just in that very cold water, and they're laughing and giggling among themselves, bending over, slapping their arms, looking at each other comically. Commencing their vrat, the Brajakumaris offered obeisance to Kalindi before bathing. Climbing down the bank, they slowly entered the water. Ignoring the cold, they followed all the prescribed rules and completed their baths. Then they joyfully ran back up the banks of the Jamuna. After coming out of the Jamuna, the gopis felt elated over courageously tolerating the painful cold water. I know so many times in the past when we used to be on traveling Sankirtan, and we'd have to bathe in some place like that, some lake, some river, even in the snow. And sometimes it was very difficult, right? And after we would come out, we'd be laughing and happy that we had done it. Proud of ourselves, right? The water dripping from the garments on the limbs of the young, beautiful, doe-eyed gopis with pretty smiles fell onto the earth. It seemed that their bodies wept golden tears after being tortured by the cold black waters of the Jamuna. So all these drips coming from their body, it's like one of those movie scenes when they do everything in slow motion and they haze it out and you can focus. When we had the installation of Sri Radharaman here and Lalita and Vishaka and Rupa and Rati Manjaris, the devotees, Rup Vilas and Kumari, they had this really good camera. And they took pictures of that. And in the Abhishek, when the water was coming down, they had the camera that could capture these individual drops, both moving and stills. And in slow motion, you could just see these drops, which had their own effulgence. We might think it came from the sun, but you might also know that the sun's effulgence comes from Krishna himself. But these individual pictures you see, it's extraordinary, these individual drops. So having seen that, we can imagine the gopis now, they're out of the water, and the drops of water are coming individually off their body, and they are illuminated by the natural golden effulgence of the bodies of the gopis, right? So, golden tears falling from their beautiful bodies. The water birds that had spent their youth among the blooming lotus flowers in the Jamuna saw these drops as the wonderful essence of nectarian beauty. The shimmering light emanating from their golden bodies made the gopis look like blissful embodiments of the goddess of fortune. The water previously caught in their hair now poured out rapidly. It appeared as if the gopis cried out of fear. As they gracefully dried themselves with small towels, the gopis looked very beautiful. After removing the water from their bodies, the gopis compassionately gave up their enmity toward the cold water. Now they're warmer. While drying and attaining and arranging their hair, it seemed that the gopis were showing affection to their weeping hair because they're softly patting it, twisting, squeezing out the water. The hair is weeping, right? The weeping means like tears. The water's coming from the hair. And so they're showing affection. The desirable Brajakumaris had achieved a unique position due to their sweet beauty and effulgent golden complexions. After bathing and drying their creeper-like bodies, the gopis looked even more beautiful as they filled their lotus mouths with the sweet name of Krishna. Even Lakshmi Devi could not surpass their fortune. While dressing in fresh clothes, they thoroughly immersed their minds in remembrance of Krishna. The borders of their dresses were ornamented with attractive lacing of gold and silver threads. After tying up their hair, the gopis, who were expert in various arts, proceeded to a special place on the bank of the Jamuna. They occasionally sighed from the cold while carrying the puja paraphernalia that they had painstakingly gathered. the sweet fragrance of their breath attracted swarms of bees. But the gopis felt nervous and twitched their eyebrows because they could not tolerate the cold wind generated by the wings of those bees. Oh, so the bees are all around them again, attracted, but even that breeze was making them chilly. Feeling compassionate, Suryadev gradually dispelled their chill by caressing them with warm, gentle rays. Thus, Suryadev showed more affection to the gopis than to his own daughter, Jamuna Devi. He warmed up the gopis, but Jamuna was still cold. Okay, so now it's going to talk about setting up the area of puja, right? All the paraphernalia, everything else. So we're going to stop here and begin from this point tomorrow. Okay, so where's that thing that okay, there it is. So we'll stop here. We'll offer obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, all the assembled Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis, and come back tomorrow to hear more about this beautiful vrat that the gopis are going to perform. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.